Al, we'll start with, first off, can you say and spell your name for me? Can you say and spell your name for me, Al?
Alexander Bulay, B-U-L-A-Y.
Regular spelling on Alexander, nothing tricky? Okay.
You can change it to Al if you like.
Okay. So, what's going on here tonight at the Roosevelt?
Well, we have some speakers coming who are going to voice their opinion on why movie theaters in New York should be open. Some of them may go into an explanation of why they think Cuomo is not opening the theaters. Matt Ewer, who you've met, is going to go through a total explanation of all the safety procedures and protocols that we'll be following in our theaters. When we had a similar meeting on Constitution Day in Red Hook, the following day, representatives of the National Association of Theater Owners of New York met with Governor Cuomo's representatives in Schenectady at a movie theater. They went over all the safety procedures and protocols. They handed the governor's aides a 14-page report or plan, if you will, about safety procedures that would be followed in all the theaters in New York when they open. That's probably the I don't know, 6th or 8th meeting or set of conversations they'd had with the governor's people. And after each meeting, absolutely nothing happens. It's been probably at least 6 weeks since the governor said, I guess theaters will be next. Then he opened casinos and gymnasiums and was mute about theaters, still remains mute, won't give any guidance, won't set any guidelines, won't give us a tentative date. We have been in total limbo since our region entered phase 4 back in July. You know, everyone anticipated, based on the words of the governor, that theaters would reopen in phase 4. Well, it's August, September, we're 3 months past phase 4, and we're not open. And it's a hardship on every theater in New York, anybody who has money invested in a theater, and also affects the entire nation. And you know, in our presentation tonight, we'll get into some detail about that. And that's why we're here. This is within the guidelines of a public gathering as set down by state mandate. We're going to have less than 50 people in the building. And we're having a public gathering in a closed movie theater because the movie theater should not be closed.
Now you own some movie theaters. How many do you own?
5.
Where are they located?
Red Hook, New York, HYDE Park, New York, New Paltz, New York, Bennington, Vermont, and St. Johnsbury, Vermont. We've been operating in Vermont since early May. State of Vermont allowed theaters to open at 25% capacity in May. A month later, it went to 50%. A lot of theaters that had reopened have since closed. They reopened in May because there was product scheduled for Memorial Day, for June, for July. Because of New York and LA remaining closed, all that product is put back on the shelf, moved to after Election Day and beyond.
So
half the theaters in the states that have reopened are closed. There's no reason for them to open because...
So even if you could open, there are no movies to show because...
There are movies to show that nobody wants to see. They are movies that, for the most part, I would never play them. You know, I'm playing them now in Vermont because there's nothing else to play. I don't want to, having reopened the theater and hired a staff, trained a new manager and a new assistant manager, and new employees. We don't want to close and go through that same process again, not knowing even when that process will start again. So we've curtailed the hours, we've curtailed the days, and we're staying open in the hopes that things change. General consensus of opinion now is that nothing's going to change until November 3rd. And very few people believe it's about safety anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy that New York and California have such power in the movie industry to stop these big releases. So, I mean, you're talking.
It's not crazy. It's a numbers game.
Well,
it's a numbers game.
Yeah, but it's 47 other states, and it's like they don't get movies because New York ain't open.
New York and L.A. are a big piece of the puzzle, a giant piece of the puzzle. When a studio spends $100 or $200 million to make a movie, and then has to spend another $20 or $30 million to market the movie, they want the market to be there. You know, their only recourse is to sell it to VOD or pay-per-view, and that does not get them their money back, not by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how much money Disney made off of Mulan.
Mulan was a Chinese Asian movie. They did not need the American theatrical audience. They had their own streaming service where they pick up dollars in this country, and they were going to pick up the bulk of the receipts on that movie, other than in the United States.
Okay. So that wasn't really a movie.
The
made
two
for...
major markets in the world are China and India. The United States is not a major market anymore for a lot of films.
You see that when they have to make changes to, American movies to play in those markets. So it's kind of interesting. Now, you own the building and the land?
In every theater except New Paltz, and New Paltz were a tenant.
Okay. So you still have to pay like property tax, school tax, things like that?
On October 7th in Red Hook, we have $25,700 and some odd dollars due in school taxes. On October 9th in HYDE Park, we have $27,000 and change due. Then I have school taxes due in Bennington, Vermont, and St. Johnsbury, Vermont. And our resources are drained. We're not quite at the end of the tunnel, but it's no different for anybody else. AMC Theaters, owned by a Chinese conglomerate, about 2 months ago borrowed just to keep going and paying expenses on 800 closed theaters in this country, borrowed $500 million, and they're paying 10% interest. Because they're a bad risk. They've been on the verge of bankruptcy for quite a while. Yeah. We were able to borrow money for less than 2%, and not from the government. So we were fortunate in that regard, but debt is piling up. Time is money. And it obviously can't go on forever.
At this point, the governor keeps postponing this. Should there be some kind of tax bailout for businesses that can't open and
there isn't on property taxes. The school systems have to get paid. School districts have expenses. Teachers have to get paid. The administrators have to get paid. The custodians have to get paid. The suppliers have to get paid.
Yeah, we've seen a lot this year. School budgets they don't have any money. Albany school districts laid off 120 teachers, 200 people total. If
you don't pay your school taxes on time, it's 2% penalty per month. You know, that's not a great deal.
But still, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
And you want to pay it. I mean, you're not looking to skip out. You want to open, you want to pay your taxes, you want to be a good businessman, right?
Matt and I are blue-collar capitalists, or entrepreneurs, if you prefer. You know, we work hard for our money. We work a lot of hours, and we enjoy it. And the theaters being closed is totally unfair. There's absolutely no reason in the world for it. You know, every safety issue imaginable has been covered. Anybody who thinks they're safer in a Walmart on a Saturday afternoon is nuts.
You were telling me about these chairs. I mean, these are some nice chairs. You put them in right before the shutdown?
These may have gone in right before Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much are they?
Each chair is about $700. And then you need an electrician to wire them. And then the seat installer, he gets about $60 per chair to install them. So, and then there's sales tax on to the state of New York on the chairs too.
Yeah. You're still paying for them though, right? Or did you buy them outright? At the time? Yeah.
We were still trying to pay for them.
Yeah. Some nice chairs. Nice big roomy chairs. I mean, you could
try one out before you leave. Did you sit in one in Red Hook?
No.
We charge an extra $1 to sit in it. We do.
Do they have a massage function?
In Kingston, they charge you $2 extra to sit in their cheap chair.
Yeah.
They have a cheaper version of this chair.
So, what do you want to tell the governor?
Excuse me?
What do you want to tell the governor, Al?
Let us open up. You know, let us contribute to the gross national product. Let us pay our taxes. You know, let us earn a living. Let people come to the movies. They need escapism. They need entertainment. They need to get out of the house. By keeping the theaters closed, he's hurting Coppola's restaurant down the block. He's hurting the brew pub next door. He's hurting the pizza place up the road. He's hurting McDonald's. He's hurting, you know, the ripple effect is enormous. It's time to open up. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Al Boulay. I've been safely running movie theaters since Richard Nixon was in the White House. Andrew Cuomo was 7 years old when I had my first job in a movie theater. When I was running my first movie theater, he was 11 years old. I hired Matt Ewer, who's our general manager and now my partner in 5 theaters, when he was 16 years old, 32 years ago. Between the two of us, we have over 80 years experience safely running movie theaters. I want to introduce you to 2 other members of our team who we have kept working since March 16th. Jackie Mongemelli is our office manager. Stand up, Jackie. She juggles the books, keeps the books, helps supervise and train the help, and is an all-around left-hand man. Matt is my right-hand man. Jackie's my left hand. Sandy Butler, right here. I've known Sandy since she was in high school when she was stocking shelves at the old A&P in Red Hook. She went on to become a CVS manager. We stole her away and made her a theater manager. Sandy belongs in the Guinness World Book of Records. Because since April, Sandy has bagged, delivered, and given away over 8,000 bags of this popcorn. Sandy has been to churches. She has been to food pantries. She's been to schools many, many times. She's been to firehouses. She's been to police stations. She has been all over the Hudson Valley delivering popcorn to people. And she's really been a hero. Our first speaker is a woman who has been a good friend of mine for many, many years. She was my daughter's social studies teacher when my daughter was in middle school in Red Hook. My daughter's now 35. I think she probably had Matt in a class one time, and Jackie, and Sandy. Linda is a very civic-minded person. Unlike some of us here, she's a Democrat. But Linda is a moderate Democrat. By that I mean she's loaded with common sense and not an ounce of extremism. And when she doesn't agree with what people in her own party do, she doesn't hesitate to let them know. And Linda always seems to be capable of doing the right thing. When we started our popcorn and food deliveries back in April, Linda went with Matt and Sandy many times, delivering popcorn to hospitals. I think Linda was there when Matt took popcorn, hot dogs, candy, and soft drink to the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office in Poughkeepsie. Linda has been a good friend to us for many years. And Linda's going to be our first speaker. Linda, come on up here.
For those who don't know me, yes, I am Linda Greenblatt. I retired 13 years ago. I retired 13 years ago from Red Hook Central Schools. I taught there for 33 years. And yes, I had Matt, Jackie, Sandy class of 79. Jackie, were you in? No, you were class of 82. And Matt was class of 90. So once again, I have been a community activist for over 50 years. I'm a proud member of Rotary. I am also a member of Delta Kappa Gamma Alpha Zeta chapter, which is a group of women educators in Dutchess County, and it's international also. I've known Al Boulay for about 40 years, starting in the early 1980s. When he was the original owner of the Lyceum Theater on East Market Street in Red Hook, which is now Charlie O's. The year, I believe, exactly is 1983. In that year, Schindler's List came out, and I wanted all my 8th graders to see it. I thought it was very important. I saw Al busing in school groups from HYDE Park, New Paltz, all over the county, coming to Red Hook to see it. And so I applied for it, and lo and behold, Red Hook Central said no to me. There had been a lot of snow days that year, and so they didn't want the kids to miss another day of school, some hours from school. Since very few times had anyone said no to me, I was like flabbergasted, but anyway, I probably tearfully went to Al and said, what can we do? And so he arranged for my students to come on a Saturday. He opened the entire theater to my school kids. We we came, many of their parents joined them, and I sat in the middle of them and talked them through the movie because it was a very sensitive movie. And it really had a huge impact not only on me, but also my students. I felt like we were in his living room, and he was so kind to do that. Several years later, Clint Eastwood's movie, Letters from Iwo Jima, came out, and he helped me arrange for the entire junior class at Red Hook High School to come and see that movie, and we were doing studying World War II at the time, so this was a perfect opportunity to see it, and it was also a very impactful movie. You know, it's really amazing. A lot of the students who, in these two examples, have come to me many years later and told me, you know, what an impact. They still remember those times. And the bottom line is, this is the Al Ballet I knew, admire, and really have come to appreciate. His generosity really knows no bounds. It isn't just about popcorn and hot dogs, believe me. And yes, I had his daughter in class, and we've been still, it's nice, we've been friends ever since, so 40 years. I have no doubt that Al, Matt, and Sandy will keep all the theater goers in the Hudson Valley and their free theaters safe. Their CDC compliance is amazing. Their knowledge of the new technologies is really extraordinary, as you'll see Matt demonstrating that tonight. And by the way, I really think the fact that, I mean, it seems like such a, you know, a cliche to talk about, you know, Matt and Sandy, Jackie, you know, working for, you know, the ballet movie organization since they were teens, but I think it says a lot for the whole organization, and the fact that he has kept them employed during this awful pandemic is a testament to his dedication to his employees also, because everybody is suffering at this moment. On a personal note, I really miss going to the movies. I've been known to occasionally in 1 week go 4 times. I really pride myself in trying to see all the movies that I think are going to be getting awards, and so when I watch the Academy Awards, I try to have seen all of them that have been nominated. So I really missed that, and I think that yeah, you could see Netflix, you could go to Roku, but seeing it on the big screen is something that is really missing today in our viewing of these movies. Most people don't realize what a huge economic impact not having the theaters open, whether we're talking about Al's movies in the Hudson Valley, Broadway, Proctor's Theater, all the ones that I just love going to. Really, thousands and thousands and thousands of people are unemployed as a result. I know that gyms are open now. Indoor dining instead of just takeout and outdoor dining, 50% capacity, and I think they've been very successful. And I think theaters can be also, if everybody, does their civic duty, wears the mask. Al will make sure with Matt and all of his employees that the proper sanitizing of everything happens, that we can be safe too. And so I fully support the opening of theaters in at least the Hudson Valley.
Thank you, Linda. I just want to say, before Matt demonstrates safety procedures and protocols and explains a few things, we had a similar meeting to this on Constitution Day 2 weeks ago up in Red Hook. The following day, representatives from National Association of Theater Owners of New York met with Governor Cuomo's people at a theater in Schenectady, gave them a 14-page document detailing all safety procedures and protocols that theaters in New York State would follow. I talked to the head of the NATO organization after the meeting, says it went well, and he was sure that Cuomo was going to allow us to open very, very soon. Well, Cuomo has been mute on the subject for months and months. To this day, he is still mute. He has totally run out of excuses as far as safety goes, as far as positivity test results go, and leads a lot of people to believe that safety hasn't been his primary motivation for quite a while. But in any event, Matt's going to go through all of the safety procedures that we're going to adhere to when we're allowed to open. And if anybody has any questions for Matt when he's done, feel free to raise your hand and Matt will answer you. Thank you.
So I'm going to go over some of the safety procedures that we have for you. These aren't just our ideas. It's a conglomeration of many different entities that we put together while we're still waiting on guidance from our state. So some of these things come from the CDC itself, NATO, the National Association of Theater Owners, and the Vermont Guide, because we have 2 theaters safely operating in Vermont. They have a guide for movie theaters and entertainment venues, so those have been mixed in as well. I'm going to start with some of the common things you guys are familiar with. We're going to go through those fairly quickly until we get to the more theater-specific stuff. So social distancing has been on everybody's mind. You saw the stickers when you come in, so 6-foot spacing will be adhered to. Employees will help monitor and enforce that. We'll be at the concession stand and the ticket counter. Markers will be on the floor. We'll also have stuff like every other urinal blocked off and every other sink blocked off to make sure that 6-foot spacing is adhered to. Hand sanitizer stations will be set up at the concession stand and in the bathroom so patrons and staff can sanitize their hands whenever they feel necessary. Common touch equipment such as video games and water fountains will be temporarily put out of service and blocked off so they can't be used right now, as well as some of our theaters have serve yourself bulk candy. Those will also be put out of service for the time being. Enhanced cleaning will be done with viricide spray in all common touch areas such as the door handles, concession counter, bathroom fixtures. All those items there will be cleaned on a regular basis. Masks, which everybody's probably familiar with already, will be required to be worn by the employees at all times while inside the building, except when they are on break and away from other people. Patrons will also be required to wear masks when entering the building in all common areas until seated in their reserved seat. Gloves. Employees will use gloves whenever dispensing food or handling food behind the concession counter, and they will of course be changed if they touch anything like money before they serve food again, so to prevent any cross-contamination. Signs will be placed at the entrance, like a lot of businesses you've seen, stating that if customers are feeling sick, ill, or exhibiting other signs of the COVID virus, that they are not to enter, or if they've been in contact with other people that may have had COVID or similar symptoms, they are not to enter. In addition to that, maximum occupancy will be shown for the theater at a reduced scale based on whatever guidance is provided for the state. Each auditorium also will have its own sign indicating the maximum occupancy for that auditorium. When it comes to condiments and other things like that, straws will be handed to you by a employee instead of in the past. Normally everybody reaches into the bucket and grabs a straw. So employees will be handing those out one at a time just to minimize the number of people touching that. Same will go for salt. We'll give you individual packets of salt rather than everybody touching the salt shakers. So we wouldn't have to disinfect a salt shaker every time somebody picked one up. Same goes for our hot dogs. We have little ketchup, mustard, and relish packets there. When it comes to employee health, we'll have a training manual that will describe employees' requirements to self-evaluate prior to coming to work. So if they feel sick, they're supposed to contact management and let them know that they are feeling ill and they should not report to work if they're feeling ill, or if they've been in contact with a family member or another close contact that may be feeling well. I'm going to ask Sandy to come up. As part of our health screening process will be to, some businesses have required temperature checks. So we will scan the employee when they come in. And you're at 97.9, so you're good to go. If they exceed 100.4, which is the guidance that we got from Vermont, they will be asked to leave and not return until their fever is reduced, or maybe it was something other than COVID, but if they did have further symptoms, then it'd be required to quarantine for some time. Those temperatures will be reported as well. Refills, if you're familiar with our theaters, we usually give free refills on large popcorns and large sodas. We thought the best way to do that would be to, instead of, we don't want the buckets coming back across the counter, so we'll issue you a separate bag for the large popcorn, and that will be given to you, and you can dump it into your bucket in the theater or bring it home to you, to your family to have later on. As far as cups are concerned, for the time being, unfortunately, we don't want the soda cups coming back, and the cups are expensive to the point where we can't just give a whole bunch of them away. So for the time being, large sodas just will not be refilled. Staggered show times. Unlike other businesses where people come and go at all different times of the day, we have a certain amount of control over when people show up. Most people don't come hours before a movie. They usually come in the last 15 minutes. 15 minutes to showtime is generally when people come. So if we spread those show times out, it reduces the congestion in the lobby, congestion in the bathrooms. Once people are in the theater, typically they stay there the whole show except for possibly a bathroom trip. So staggering show times would definitely help. Reduced capacity. Of course, in order to maintain 6-foot distancing in the theater, we'll reduce our capacity. We're hoping for guidance on 50%, which is what we're doing in Vermont right now. That will allow for at least 6-foot spacing between patrons in the auditorium. Whatever the state comes up with, be it 25, 33, or 37.5%, we'll use those guidelines. The reserve seating system that we put in when we put in the new recliner chairs in November will also be a help. With the RTS, that's our POS point of sale software, we are able to block off rows of seats and make them unavailable. And also, if a group of 4 were to buy a bunch of seats, we'll automatically block off seats on either side of that group of people to maintain social distancing. The employees, again, will monitor the theaters periodically to make sure people are sitting in the reserved seat. A big concern with movie theaters has been the HVAC systems, and we've looked into that. And a couple of points at first. It's not a common single ventilation system. Each auditorium has its own ventilation system, its own unit. So auditorium 1 is separate from 2, 2 is separate from 3, the lobby is separate from the auditoriums. So we have, multiple HVAC units. So there's no shared air between those. We plan on running our fans continuously, whether or not there being any active heating or cooling going on. So if I'm quiet for a second, even though there's not really hot or cold out, I don't think the heat's running, but you'll hear the fan running. In addition to that, the economizers, which is a little flapper there that we can pin open to bring in at least 10 to 20% outside air. So that will also bring in some fresh air. We, like many other people, have a service company for HVAC units. And up until now, we had whatever filters they had installed for us. In this case, MERV 8, I think it is. But when we heard the governor talking to malls about increase in the filtration, we threw these out and we went with the MERV 13 filters, which is a really good filter. It will filter out bacteria and viruses. It's the same type of stuff they use in hospitals. So these have already been bought and installed in all our theaters. They're in the HVAC unit that's working in this auditorium right now. So in addition to that, in between shows, you know, the new recliners could be wiped down with a Clorox wipe, but the fabric seats are a little more difficult to sanitize. So we looked into that, and the best way we feel is for a fogger. This is a fogger system here, and it's the same type that the airlines have adopted to spray their seats down in between flights. So we plan on spraying seats that have been used in our auditorium as well. And we're going to demonstrate that for you tonight. For demonstration purposes only, we've taken the sanitizer out and just put water in there. So we're not gassing you out or anything. And Al's holding up a sign.
It's a picture.
It's a picture.
Anybody here identify that picture?
Does anybody know what that's a picture
Nobody?
of?
Dean? Will?
It's a picture of the governor's mansion. So in our demonstration, we were trying to think of what we might sanitize. So does anybody think that we should sanitize the governor's
Anybody here
mansion?
think the governor's mansion should be sanitized?
Here we go. You can see that's a commercial grade sprayer. You can see how it missed the what would be viral side, but right now it's just water. It really atomizes it really well, so it gives a nice thin coating over all the chairs and gives it just enough time to kill the viruses that is required by this EPA approved viral side, yet not so long and so wet that you won't be able to sit in it for the next 10 minutes. So does anybody have any questions on that? All right, I guess I'll turn it over to Al.
Anybody here wouldn't feel safe coming back to see a movie?
Use the mic, Mel. Use the mic.
Oh, sorry. Does everybody feel safe being here?
I was going to say, good evening, ladies and germs, but germs aren't allowed here, so I guess that joke doesn't work anymore.
Anybody here feel like a criminal for being here? No, we don't feel like criminals either. We feel like victims. I'm going to introduce you to a man who, with his brother John Coppola, runs one of the best Italian restaurants that I've ever eaten in. Coppola's just down the road. Luigi Coppola.
One of my earliest memories is coming to this theater, watching Star Wars. And if anybody remembers, Star Wars was at this movie theater, I think it was for a year and a half. And I came here and I watched it about 14 times. Through the years, I've been here many times. One of my first dates with my wife was here at this movie theater. I brought my kids here to watch all the Disney Pixar movies. I think we all have these memories of this particular theater. This theater is in danger of not servicing my grandchildren now. We have to save this theater. And there's other things that need to be done with this theater. Our economy is interdependent. What I mean by that is kids go to the diner after they go to this theater. Parents go to eat at my restaurant before they come to this theater. Families go do all kinds of things throughout their day, planning on coming to this theater afterwards. So therefore, if one link of the chain is broken, the entire economy is broken. Now, at Capola's, we're operating at 50%. As everyone knows, everyone is struggling right now with making their payments. October 9th is coming up. October 9th is the day that our school taxes are due. I can't tell you how many lay people, for lack of a better way to put it, are wondering how we're going to pay the taxes. I know Al is wondering how we're going to pay the taxes. I've contacted just about every politician I know, screaming at them saying, you don't understand, this will be worse than when we went into quarantine. By the middle of November, no exaggeration, there may be up to 50% of our local businesses shut down and never opening again. We're not asking for a handout. We don't need a handout. We're business people. We know how to fight the struggle. What we need is a chance. What we need is to let us open. This is enough. We want our patrons to be safe. We don't want to hurt you. We want you to be safe so you can come back again. That's what we want. So let us open. Let us do what we've been trained to do. Let us take care of our customers. That's what we need.
Thank you, Luigi. Thank you. Next up, another local businessman who sat on the Dutchess County Economic Development Council for 20 years, Tom LeGrand. Tom, you still with us?
Well, I'm here tonight to support my good friend Al. We've been friends for probably 40 years, and he's an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. And I've always admired his work ethic, I've admired his dedication to his business, and I've also admired his community spirit. Him, Al, like many small businesses, we are the fabric of the community. And what Al has done, he's always been there to benefit different organizations, free movies, movies for kids in the Christmas time. I mean, he's been a genuinely wonderful corporate citizen. And I truly believe, for some reason, why the state is singling out movie theaters to shut them down, to me, is unbelievable. You can go to Walmart, where they're packed in there like sardines. You can have these protests that they have going on in all the major cities throughout the country, including New York City. And as they pan the audience, you don't see anybody with a mask on. And they're there shoulder to shoulder. It's disgraceful. And what it really comes down to is what Luigi talked about. I mean, we are in the business community, it's link by link by link. And the movie business is a wealth generator. What I mean is they provide jobs for the people that work here, but also people leave here, they go to restaurants, they go to shops, same thing. None of that is happening because they don't have this outlet. The other thing too, the one thing that's proved that nobody's talked about in this pandemic lockdown is the mental health aspect. I mean, people need the relief. They need to go out. They have a night out. I mean, you know, I go to the movies twice a year. Every time we go, my wife and I have a good time, and we all say, gee, why don't we do this more often? Because you sit there and you forget about your worries. But I think the one thing that really amazes me is that when he does open, nobody's forced to go to the movies. It's a decision. I mean, if they don't feel safe, if they don't feel like they want to take the risk, don't come. But at least give the man the opportunity to provide work for his employees and to make money so he can survive. And I do agree with one thing that Luigi said. I mean, I think by the time this thing is over, is this thing still working? Yeah. Okay. But no? Is it working? Okay. I believe you're going to lose 50% of the small businesses in the region. And the longer they keep it locked down, the worse it becomes. Because we're coming into the winter now, and you take all these restaurants that have had, you know, the luxury of the summer, of a dry summer, and the weather was good, and you had outside dining, that's all gonna go away in a couple of weeks. I know, you know, people don't wanna sit outside with a winter jacket on. And I think that, what I can't believe is that where they went to the governor's office, and with all these safety measures in place, and still no reply of how they can open. It's like this segment of the economy is overlooked. It's disgraceful. And you know, you look at the structure of the movie theater itself. They're well ventilated, okay? Most cinemas like ours, each unit is independently ventilated, and you have a good airflow and high ceilings. It's about the safest environment you can get, much safer than most restaurants, because most restaurants, the ceilings are 9 foot high. What's your ceiling here, Al? 20 feet? 20 feet high. So, I mean, it's really a safe environment. But I think, I don't really understand why they're doing what they're doing. But I think the other thing, if anybody here has any contact with any of their elected officials, state senators, you know, mostly state officials, but state senators, state assembly people, let them know, get on the phone, say this is not right what they're doing to this industry and in general. And I think that would help, because a lot of times people forget they don't want to call their elected officials, and even call your county elected officials too, because they have more influence on the state officials than we do. But I mean, you've really got to let your voice heard, you know, to right this wrong and let these people get back in business again. So anyway, I'm here for you, Al, and thanks for inviting me down tonight.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Dean Michael is the Deputy Town Supervisor, Town of Clinton. Was a businessman his entire working life. Happens to be a candidate for state assembly, but he's not here to ask you for your vote. Although I would sure as hell vote for the man. Dean, take it away.
Alrighty. I thought maybe I should run down like the next contestants of the whatever the game shows are. I think Luigi really hit a point. I mean, when you hear the heart and soul of our businesses and how they're struggling, I mean, why is our governor stopping these businesses from opening? I mean, I go to Planet Fitness over here. So I was at Planet Fitness when it first opened, the first week. You know how many people came to the gym? 5, 6. I mean, that whole big gym, only 5 or 6 people were in it. People are not going to rush back into the theater, so you don't have to worry about like this mass party that's going to go on. So what's the sense? So as Al said, I'm a business owner. I own an insurance agency. And what insurance people do is we manage risk. What Al and Matt has demonstrated here, and even Jackie, you did a great job this morning.
Thank you.
What Jackie even just demonstrated this morning on the radio was that they've managed the risk. They got the filter. Each theater is divided. It's purified in a sense because of the HEPA filters. They're going to spray all the seats down. They're going to wipe them down. They're going to know who sat in what seat, so they make sure everything was taken care of. That's a plan. That's how you manage risk. You know, as an insurance agent, nationally, there's probably about 5 million car accidents a year. And about 1% of those lead into a fatality. That's a little more than 102 people a day that die from car accidents. There's no way we'll ever have 0. I mean, unless we go out and bubble wrap. So what we do is we manage the risk. Al, Matt, and Jackie have managed the risk. They've demonstrated to us they care that we all stay safe, so that not only that we survive, but so that Al could survive. They need the people to come in, and they need the people to feel confident that when they do come in, that it's going to be safe. I think he's demonstrated to me I'm sure he's demonstrated it to you, Rep. So there's only one thing, is that, you know, I over the course of the last 6 months have watched many demonstrations. One of them was the restaurant industry. When they weren't opening up the restaurant industry, they came up with this plan. And they documented how they were going to open up the restaurants and how they were going to make people safe. And they took this plan and they gave it to the, goes in and out. They gave it to the governor, and the governor did nothing with it for several weeks. Then the governor came out with his own plan so he could say, look, I came up with this plan. Why are you reinventing the wheel? Business people have solutions. That's what we do. We're solution creators. Because what we do is we find a need and we find a solution to match that need. Al has a solution. The governor needs to open. You need to call your representatives and let them know what's going on is not okay. You demand that we open up our theaters and other businesses so that they could survive. Our economy will not survive unless these businesses open. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to introduce a young and, in my opinion, outstanding member of the Dutchess County Legislature. Happens to be a resident of HYDE Park, hopefully a patron of the Roosevelt, I'm sure. Will Truitt, come on up, Will.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here. A couple weeks ago on Constitution Day, I joined everyone up at the Red Hook Cinema to speak out and say, you know what, enough's enough. It's time to open back up the movie theater industry. It has been far too long that this industry has been put down. It is, what, the last industry that is still being held up, essentially, now? And just to go back to what Luigi said, this is a piece of our dynamic economy. And by keeping movie theaters closed, it affects everyone else around us. It affects restaurants. It affects all our other small businesses where kids and families go to pick up things, looking forward to coming to the movie theater. I mean, I came here so many times as a child with my parents or my grandparents. They would take me here to the Roosevelt Cinemas. And it really is sad that our children aren't able to come here now and have those experiences, have those memories right now, because we have a governor who's playing politics. And that's all this is. I was just with a group of friends of mine who were all Democrats, and they all, I told them where I was off to, and they said, that's ridiculous that movie theaters aren't open yet. It's not a Republican-Democrat issue. This is a political issue that we have a governor who cares more about the powers that be that tell him what to do, or that he has the power to keep movie theaters closed. That's what this is about. It's not about safety anymore at this point. So enough's enough. I've sent a letter to the governor. I'm very hopeful that other elected officials are doing the same thing, saying, reopen our movie theaters. It just goes to show what his faith is in the business owners, saying, oh, that they're not capable of keeping the patrons safe. I mean, give me a break. Our business owners are some of the smartest people that we have in society. They got to where they are in owning their businesses, or successful businesses, because they're intelligent, because they know how to take care of their patrons. I have some remarks here also from our state senator, Sue Serino, who is also a HYDE Park resident, and I know she comes here, and she's brought her son Anthony here growing up. Let me pull up her remarks. She wasn't able to make it tonight, but she is absolutely here for Al, for our movie theaters, and she's ready for them to open up. From Sue Serino. Thousands of businesses across New York are on the brink of financial ruin as they desperately await guidance from the state. Businesses like these theaters, small businesses that contribute so much to the fabric of our local community, have been totally left behind as the state has gone radio silent, refusing to answer questions or provide even a timeline for when they can expect to receive guidelines that would allow them to plan for a safe reopening. It's not right. And these hardworking business owners and the thousands of New Yorkers whom they employ, deserve better. I won't stop fighting to get them the answers that they deserve to help facilitate a safe return to business. That's from our state senator, Sue Serino. We know she's up in Albany fighting for us. Dean Michael will do the same in the state assembly. And those are the people that we need to elect to go up to Albany, that are gonna fight on behalf of our business owners like Al. So again, it's an honor to be here, and God bless everyone who came here today. You're all patriots, you're all great people. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Appreciate it. We're going to get to the movie pretty quickly. I have a few closing remarks. Some statistics. Some from, mostly from Arbitron, one of the best statistic collectors in the country. There are 6,000 cinema sites in the country, nationwide. That's 40,998 screens. 18 of those screens are ours in the Hudson Valley. We're small potatoes. We're in the bottom of the food chain. 3 conglomerates, or large corporations, own 1,600 of those screens. AMC, which is owned by a Chinese conglomerate. They've been on the verge of bankruptcy for several years. Regal, which is now owned by a large British corporation. And number 3 is Cinemark, which as far as I know is still American owned. In a normal year, 1.3 billion movie tickets are sold. I did say billion. 1.3 billion movie tickets are sold in a normal year in the United States. 43% of those people eat out before or after a movie. That means that the loss to the economy nationwide, if movie theaters are not attracting people, is 559 million meals per year that would have been eaten out. We're talking tablecloth restaurants, pizzas, hamburgers at McDonald's, diner food, you name it. 14% of all those people, of the 1.3 billion, visit a retail store when they go out to see a movie. That's 182 million less visits to a retail store. 17% of women who go out to see a movie go shopping at the same time. That's well over 100 million shoppers that aren't shopping when the theaters are not attracting them. Last but not least, 6% of those people visit a bar or a pub with their friends or family before or after a movie. That's 78 million less people going to the bars and pubs because the theaters are closed or not attracting people. Now, why do I throw those figures out? Because Andrew Cuomo, for the last several months, controls the studio product line. Every major film, I'm talking the major films, the good films, and there were dozens of them that were scheduled to be released in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, are now pushed back past Election Day and beyond. In the 47 theaters that are open, half the theaters in those states are closed because there's nothing to play. I and many others are totally convinced this is no longer about safety. It hasn't been about safety for a long time now. This is about crippling or stymieing the national economy until after November 3rd. Now, I don't know Andrew Cuomo. I don't know what's in his heart or his head. But I do know that Matt and I and our team, Jackie and Sandy and our other employees, we contribute more to the gross national product in 1 year than Cuomo has in the last 20. That's a fact. And he stopped us from contributing to the gross national product. He stopped the entire industry from contributing to the gross national product. He's hurt every restaurant in the country that's anywhere near a movie theater. He's hurt every pizza shop that's anywhere near a movie theater. He's hurt every McDonald's or Burger King or Taco Bell that's anywhere near a movie theater. All of those chain theaters, 99% of them are in shopping malls. He's hurt every shopping mall in the country and every store in those shopping malls by keeping New York theaters closed. Is safety the motive? I don't think so. I think we all know that there are evil people in this world that will do anything to gain power, to stay in power. And like I said, I don't know what's in Andrew Cuomo's head or heart. I don't know the man. But it sure appears to some of us that he's become a foot soldier for those people. If you open or close gymnasiums in New York State, nobody in Topeka, Kansas cares. If you open or close casinos in New York State, it doesn't affect anybody in Laramie, Wyoming. When you close movie theaters in New York State, it affects the entire country. A few examples. In New Hampshire, theaters were allowed to open. In Littleton, New Hampshire, there's a theater called Jack's Junior Cinemas. It's been there over 100 years. Right near it is the Littleton Diner, the Little Grill, a restaurant, and Bishop's Homemade Ice Cream Shop. Jack's Jr. opened and closed. On their website it says, closed for the season. Doesn't say what season. Maybe it's until after Election Day, maybe it's Thanksgiving, who knows. In the meantime, the diner's hurting, the grill's hurting, the ice cream parlor's hurting, and Jax's employees are out of work. In Newport, Vermont, where theaters were allowed to open, City Cinema in Newport, Vermont opened, tried running B movies for a few weeks and closed. In the same plaza, there's the East Side Restaurant, Hoagie's Pizza, and a Thai cuisine restaurant. All hurt because the pipeline for decent product was shut down. Madison Theater in Albany, New York, closed. Right near it, Jack's Diner, Cafe Madison, Cafe Italia, all hurting because the movie theaters closed. In Lebanon, Tennessee, the Roxy Theater, right near a Cracker Barrel, the Legend Sports Grill, and Sunset Restaurant, all hurting. The Grand Cinema, Tacoma, Washington, no product to play. Right near the Overmoon Cafe, the Lucky Penny Cafe, and the Cafe Azure, all hurting because the pipeline is shut down. Eagle Theater in Shadron, Nebraska, right near EJ's Barbecue of Fridays and Bean Broker Coffee House. A lot of people suffering because New York theaters are closed. New York theaters are closed, the pipeline is shut down. People are hurting all over the country. It ain't right, it's evil. And I hope it stops before any more people are hurt, before any more businesses are closed. If there was a way to have the election tomorrow and then end all the stupid shutdowns, well, that would be a blessing, but that ain't gonna happen. So that's about all I have to say. I'm gonna let Jackie have the mic. Before I leave, anybody have any questions about why the New York shutdown has affected many things nationwide? Does everybody understand the ripple effect? Okay, here's Jackie.
We just really want to thank every one of you for coming out and participating with this. We and appreciating every one of you. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
Hold it to your mouth.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, we just really wanted to say that we really appreciate all of you. Because we have very expensive digital equipment that is sitting idle and has been sitting idle for 6.5 months. Each projector, by the way, costs $50,000. We have 7 of them sitting upstairs, sitting and collecting dust. And for anyone that knows anything about computers, it's really not a good idea to just let them sit there idle for a long period of time. So we're going to show a movie tonight. The movie is going to be Lilies of the Field. It's starring Sidney Poitier. It was released in October of 1963. Sidney actually won an Academy Award for that. He was the first African-American male to win an Academy Award for the Best Actor for that movie. We think it's a beautiful message. I don't know if anyone knows about exactly what it is, but it's a movie that basically says that he's a little handyman, and he shows up traveling across Arizona, and he comes across a group of Roman Catholic nuns who have emigrated from Germany, and he proceeds to help them. So it's a lovely movie, and we're going to take maybe, I don't know, do you want a 5 or 10 minute break to the bathroom, or you want us just to start it? Just start it? Okay, all right, so here's the movie, guys, and we hope you enjoy it.